evening. Welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now tonight, the president has made a maiden trip to Ethiopia. We have the details for you. In fact, news just coming in is that Safaricom has rolled out M-Pesa in Ethiopia. Details on that story and the president's maiden trip are coming up for you. And also in business, we'll be telling you about the cost of doing business with the prices of oil going up. And in sports, Munga has all the action for you. But first, let's have the highlights.
That the Kenya Kwanza coalition is entitled to appoint the leader of the majority party, while the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is entitled to appoint the leader of the minority party.
Acrimony rocks the National Assembly as Speaker Moses Wetangula rules that Kenya Kwanza is the majority party. Sirisia MP John Waluhe and Grace Wahungu sentenced to 67 years in jail or 1 billion shillings each, fine for graft. President William Ruto affirms Kenya's support of peace efforts in Ethiopia, terming it critical to regional stability. While 3 children perish in a house in Fano in Kerarapon in Kajiado County. Well, Lucy Mwaura today is our sign language interpreter. And remember, we would like to hear from you if you have any comments or any story that you would like us to highlight. You can send it to us on our channels. That is on Facebook and also Twitter, also Instagram on KBC Channel 1. Now, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, has ruled that Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party in the 13th Parliament. In the ruling, Wetangula stated that Kenya Kwanza has 179 members in the House against Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition parties 157. Azimio la Umoja coalition MPs protested the ruling and vowed to challenge it in court.
In the much-awaited ruling, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula ruled that Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party.
I'm therefore persuaded that the 14 members and their parties are part of the Kenya Kwanza coalition. This, in my view, would be fair and in accordance with the previous rulings by my predecessors on related matters. 3, that with the 14 members, the membership of the Kenya Kwanza coalition stands at 179 members, while the membership of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party stands at 157 members. This, by implication, indicates that the Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party, and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is the minority party in this House.
He disregarded documents tabled by the Register of Political Parties and coalition agreement documents from Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, citing inconsistencies in them.
You cannot move Kenya members of parliament on the floor of the House. You are not the Register of Political Parties. He even said that we don't have a coalition document. Our coalition document is fake, the one even presented by the registrar this morning. Then he rules again and says Upio Wanda is the leader of the Azimio la One Kenya. So much contradiction. This is the beginning. We are going to make sure this country is governed and ruled by the Constitution and the rule of law.
Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party.
Wetangula ruled that Kenya Kwanza has a majority of 179 members against Azimio's 157. Consequently, Kenya Kwanza nominees to the House leadership will now take up their position, led by Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimani Ichung'wah as the majority leader, and Azimio's Opiyo Wandayi of Ugunja as the leader of minority.
The Kenya Kwanza coalition is entitled to appoint the leader of the majority party, while the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is entitled to appoint the leader of the minority party.
The 7-member House Business Committee will now be constituted ahead of the vetting of nominees to the cabinet. Wetangula's ruling, however, sparked a protest by Azimio allied members of parliament, prompting the clerk to secure the maize. Kenya Kwanza members of parliament welcomed the ruling, while their Azimio counterparts vowed to challenge it in court.
That the leader of the majority party shall be the leader of the party or coalition of parties with the highest number of seats. Kenya Kwanza is a coalition of political parties.
What we have witnessed today is dictatorship by parliament and through the speaker. Kenyans gave registrar of political parties exclusive mandates to manage political party affairs. There is no any other office in the Republic of Kenya.
For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Sumungai.
Sirisia MP John Waluhe will now spend 67 years, while his co-accused Grace Wahungu will spend 69 years in prison if they fail to pay 1 billion shillings fine each. This is after the High Court upheld the ruling by a magistrate court in June 2020, committing the two to jail if they do not pay the fine. In the meantime, the High Court has also overturned the acquittal of immediate former Kipipiri MP Amos Kimunya and 3 of his accomplices in a 60 million shilling land fraud case facing them.
High Court Judge Esther Maina, in upholding a magistrate's ruling that convicted the Sirisia MP and his accomplice Grace Wahungu for defrauding the National Produce and Cereals Board of 313 million shillings, has ordered the duo to pay the fines or spend 67 years in prison. The High Court judge says the fines were not excessive. Waluhe and Wahungu have been out on a 10 million shillings and a 20 million shillings bail pending the determination of their appeal by the High Court today. The duo, however, have 14 days to lodge an appeal at the appellate court. Sirisia constituency residents appealing to President William Ruto to grant a presidential pardon to the legislator.
Iwapo watamweka ndani, tunaona ya kwamba itamwadhiri sana. Sasa naomba serikali kama inaweza labda mpea muda ama mpe muda kidogo ili akamilishe, itakuwa vyema kuliko kumweka ndani.
Ni mtu mzuri, sisi tunamuelewa kwamba ni mtu mzuri, ni mtu wa watoto mzuri juu ya kaunti ya Sirisia.
Meanwhile, immediate former Kipipiri MP Amos Kimunya will now be charged afresh after the High Court vacated his acquittal alongside 2 of his accomplices over a land fraud case. Judge Esther Maina says the Director of Public Prosecutions has convinced the court that there was a credible case against the immediate former majority leader and his accomplices and should have therefore been put on their defense. Kimunya and his accomplices are accused of transferring land worth 60 million to Midlands Limited, a company associated with a veteran politician. John Jacob Curia, Prime Edition.
Now, President William Ruto says Kenya supports the ongoing African Union-led peace efforts in Ethiopia under the stewardship of former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. The president, who is in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, said stability in Ethiopia is as crucial as the region, saying Africa must strive to coexist for more transformation to be realized in the continent. The president made the remarks after holding talks with Ethiopia Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in Addis Ababa. The 2 leaders later launched Safaricom in Ethiopia.
During the meeting, the 2 leaders agreed on the modalities to tackle terrorism and violent extremism so as to bring peace in the Horn of Africa. In its bid to stabilize food prices, they agreed that Kenya will import wheat from Ethiopia, whose yields have increased substantially. The Kenyan head of state noted that it was time the 2 countries exploited their long-standing relations to increase cross-border trade. He said there exists a huge economic potential between Kenya and Ethiopia that must be explored for the prosperity of the people. The president urging Ethiopia to make use of Lamu Port as the home port for the southern part of Ethiopia. President Ruto commended Dr. Ahmed for backing what he said to be a monumental game changer in Ethiopian and regional infrastructural and ICT landscape.
The prosecution was by 10 a.m. Thursday yet to avail the defense court proceedings of the 25th March 2022 in a case where the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation acting editor-in-chief Millicent Awor has been summoned for alleged contempt of court. The legal team representing the acting EIC had requested to be availed with copies of the proceedings, which is the subject of the said alleged contempt. On Wednesday, the case was adjourned to Thursday over the same demand. The case was today pushed to Tuesday next week. Meanwhile, in High Court, will on Friday hear an application by the legal team seeking orders over the same matter.
So on Tuesday, 11th. That's 11th of October. That's Tuesday.
Yes. Would you expect us to address you then on Tuesday, or is it mentioned again for us?
No, I'm now placing this matter, this particular one, for Tuesday.
Yes.
3 children, among them a 2-month-old baby, have perished after fire swept through their dwelling in Kirarapon, Kajiado County. One child who survived the midnight incident is nursing injuries in hospital. Area Assistant Chief Daniel Mutangili says the cause of the fire is yet to be established.
A somber mood characterized this home in Kirarapon, Kajiado County, Thursday after 3 children were burnt to death in a midnight fire.
Mimi nilikuwa ndani ya nyumba, nikasikia nduru moto kwa hii nyumba ya watoto wangu. Sasa mimi nilikuwa nafikiria wote wako ndani ya nyumba, wamechomekea ndani ya nyumba wote. Juu niliwaacha hapa nje wakipika. Kumbe nao walipika, wakarudi wakatoka.
Kwa hii nyumba kuna mama wanaleta mtoto kumwangalilia. Sasa katuni kama hakakuwa kwa kitanda kao kamelala, ni kama kaka alikuwa kwa kiti kanangoja mama yake amkujie. Sasa vile aligonga mlango, kitu kwanza nilikutana naye, akutana na katoto akakokoa, lakini ninasikia kalio amechomeka kidogo, akakatoa nje. Sasa kurudia wengine watu wakisema baba tusaidie, baba tusaidie. Sasa Janeti ilikuwa imewekwa kwa nini? Vile yeye anasema aliwashika, lakini akishindwa kuinua Janeti. Afu hiyo moshi sijui ni mabati limwangukia, pia akaanguka na moto ikashika mattress.
One other child, aged 4, who escaped death by a whisker is nursing injuries at a Kajiado hospital.
Na watu wa zimamoto walirespond kwa haraka, wakafika, lakini walipofika walikuta moto tayari imesha choma na watoto wameteketea. Askari walikuja kwa scene, askari 3 walikuja kwa scene na wakachukua report, na kuna mtoto mmoja ambaye alikuwa rescued, hako hospitalini.
The cause of the fire is yet to be established. Area Assistant Chief Daniel Mutangili says the victims aged between 2 months and 5 years might have struggled to save themselves in vain. Mutangili says investigations to the cause of the fire have
And our institutions should
seek to build capacity to be able to handle these issues right from the school environment. So destigmatizing campaigns even among students can help, but also training of our teachers to respond better to mental health problems, and employing professionals like counseling psychologists in schools will help so that these students who have serious issues can be identified, assisted and rehabilitated, because mental disorders are treatable.
With mental health currently affecting 60% of the Kenyan population, the association calls on the disorders to be looked as illness, with healthcare institutions building the capacity and destigmatizing the issues among its students and teachers. Mathare Teaching and Referral Hospital Board Chair Professor Lukoye Atuoli said, although the country has made significant strides against mental health challenges, there are still serious gaps which need to be addressed.
Budgets are still woefully low, and we think that as national and county governments start discussing budgets, that they ensure that adequate resources are allocated for mental health services across the country, and for Parliament to keep their eye on the process of establishment of a commission on mental health and happiness as recommended in the task force report.
According to Dr. Frank Njenga, a mental health expert, up to 30% of people seeking medical attention have a form of mental disorder.
Any medical ward in any hospital in Kenya, in fact perhaps even in the world, people who have gone there because they have diabetes, hypertension, that sort of thing, up to 40% of them will have a mental health need that more often than not goes unrecognized. In fact, the numbers are shocking. If you go, for example, to a ward where you are treating people with, say, strokes or cancer for that matter.
The formation of the task force was ordered by the former president last year, with the primary mandate being to study the status of mental health in the country. Health experts are calling for concerted efforts to tackle mental health care issues arising amid these challenges across the globe. Michael Mondiga for Prime Edition, Mombasa County.
Now let's go to the counties where contractors in KBC County are calling on Governor Simba Arati to hasten the probe on ghost contractors to weed out those who have been removed receiving payments without working. Elsewhere, education stakeholders are calling for the introduction of coding in the school curriculum to equip students on vital digital skills. This and more stories in our County News Roundup.
In Narok, parents of grade 6 pupils are anxious of their children's next step as they are expected to transition to junior secondary school under the competency-based curriculum. The director of Narok County Academy has urged the government to address parents' concerns to end the looming confusion.
Same to teachers as well. I don't think all teachers have undergone training of the same system. So now as we transition to junior secondary school, there is probably going to be a challenge in terms of human resource, because not so many teachers have been trained in the same junior secondary education.
Elizabeth Ntutu has, however, hailed the new system, noting that it helps identify talents in various fields at an early stage. And the proprietor of Big Bad Wolf Books, Andrew Yap, has called for enhanced access to books by learners to enhance the reading culture.
Around the world, the hunger for good, affordable reading material is out there, because us as humans, we find that not everything
Elsewhere, contractors in KBC County have called for a speedy probe into the 700 million shillings in pending bills so that those who genuinely worked can be paid. The contractors claimed that some of the pending bills were for rogue contractors.
We are anticipating that the pending bills that are with the control budget are in excess or to a region of 720-something million that has not been paid to our contractors. Na tunasema ya kwamba subject to verification, kwa vile zingine ni gushi, zile zitapaki nzuri, wafanyikazi wa contractors walipwe pesa zao hata kidogo ili wakuwe na pesa mfukoni.
Wale makontrakta waliwacha kazi zao, wakatoa pesa zao, wakafanyia kazi. Tunataka walipwe pesa yao, kwa sababu zile kazi ambao walifanya siko na sinaonekana. Uwezi kusema uwezi kulipa na kazi ingine mtu amefanya imeonekana, hiyo ni mbaya.
And in Vihiga County, services at Jumuiya Hospital in Kaimosi were brought to a standstill after healthcare workers protested, alleging harassment by the administration and unpayment of their salaries for 4 months.
Wametutaminate sisi, tunaambiwa tukuje kuchukua barua na wameandika nini? Wameandika watu wengine kazi. Which means kuna pesa ya kuandika watu kazi na bado sisi wenye tulikuwa hatujalipwa pesa. 4 months salary hatujalipwa mpaka saa hizi. Plus hizo areas zenye ziko nyuma. Locums watu wanafanya walipwi pesa.
I just need money then I go my way. I think all of us just came here for money and that's all. Tunasaidia wagonjwa ili sisi pia tusaidike. Sisi tunakuja hapa kuumia.
Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
Well, we'll take a short break, but before we go, I just want to tell you about one story that's coming up. Safaricom has been awarded a license in Ethiopia. That and more coming up shortly.
When we agreed or decided to become members of the United Nations, we accepted both a commitment and a challenge. A commitment to live by the Charter and the declarations of the United Nations, and a challenge to make our contribution. Like everyone else, whether they be the so-called big powers or the small nations, but to make our contribution and to be a part of the whole, and not merely spectators who go to vote once a year and forget about it. This challenge and this commitment, I am myself confident that the government and people of Kenya are willing and able to meet.
Kupata skiza tune ya mambo mema, dial star 811 star 815 hash.
Mambo mema huwaendea watu wanaosubiri, ila mambo mema zaidi huwaendea watu wanaoyatafuta. Kupata mambo mema ni kufanikiwa, na kufanikiwa ni kutabasamu, kutafakari na kuhesabu mema na baraka ulizozichukulia hatua, ukazitafuta na kuzipata. Amka, tafuta ufanisi wako.
Kupata skiza tune ya mambo mema, dial star 811 star 815 hash. Star 811 star 815 hash.
Hakuna siku tutaiona tena, imeenda.
Na si uko sawa kila kitu.
Kama ushiki maneno. Nimesamba tai kwa boda gani? Hapo mboka nyewe nimepiga kama mvua bwana. Kwa hivyo mimi ni sanga. Unauliza nini? So hiyo sio fiso. Mimi mnaniambianga hiyo pikipiki iende uichukue uilete ukule yako ya macho alafu tena mboka ichukue kama.
Unaongea uongo kwa sababu you are not allowed to say that he is not your husband. Are you there to confirm? Sasa nikwambia hiyo kisungu mingi uko nayo utakata ukiingia ndani.
Uliponyang'anywa pikipiki ulilia namna gani? I cried.
You're telling everyone that I'm the one who took the cash.
Yeah, yes. I'm the one who took it, the cash. Yeah? Yes.
Sasa wewe unajua unajichanganya.
At KBC Channel 1, we put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
Welcome back. It is now time for business. Safaricom has been awarded the license to roll out its services in Ethiopia. President William Ruto and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed reached an agreement on modalities to grant a mobile financial services license to the giant telecom.
In May 2021, Safaricom won a new telecommunication license to operate in Ethiopia, with the teleco angling for more stake in the Ethiopian communication market. In a bid to gain ground in the new market, the teleco will start rolling out mobile money services after it was granted license to offer financial services.
I am here with my friend to announce that a deal has been reached between the government of Ethiopia and Safaricom to grant a license of mobile money services.
It has transformed the mobile financial services. Business has transformed many countries, including Kenya, through M-Pesa. We hope that it will do, we intend that it will do the same in this country, and we are very delighted.
Safaricom Ethiopia says it has successfully rolled out its network across different parts of the country. The Ethiopian subsidiary, known as the Global Partnership for Ethiopia, is a joint venture involving Safaricom, Vodacom Group, Vodafone Group, Sumitomo Corporation, and the British International Investment.
We sign off one of the biggest investments by Safaricom, led by Safaricom Kenya, an investment in billions of dollars, one of its own kind, as I said, the largest ever investment made by a Kenyan company outside Kenya. And we are very proud.
Up until Safaricom made forays into Ethiopia, state-owned Ethio Telecom had enjoyed a monopoly.
We prioritize the ICT sector as one of the key drivers of economic progress. Since then, we have gone far in implementing important milestones, including the launch of Digital Ethiopia 2025. A strategy for Ethiopia's inclusive prosperity that recognizes the value of the digital economy.
Safaricom Ethiopia switched on its network and services in the capital Addis Ababa today, following network pilots in 10 cities. Safaricom Ethiopia said it plans a national network rollout to reach 14 additional cities by April 2023. Safaricom Group Chief Executive Julius Ndegwa has said the company will continue to roll out new products to cater for the Ethiopian market, which has more than 70 million potential subscribers.
The debate around genetically modified food is headed to the court if the government lifts the ban orders. A group of non-governmental organizations is threatening legal action, saying there was no public participation. The NGOs are calling for stakeholders' consultations to create a legal framework that will guide the adoption of GMOs in the country.
On Monday this week, the cabinet lifted the ban on genetically modified food after a 12-year ban in a bid to shore up food security. In the orders, the cabinet said that licensed entities are now free to import and grow GMO foods in the country. The activists say the country has no legal framework to regulate GMO foods.
But we have a plan, an elaborate plan of how that can be executed, so that me, who do not want to buy GMO, and I go to a supermarket, I'll have a choice to buy from the one labeled GMO and the other one which is not labeled GMO.
The group further alleges the Kenya Bureau of Standards has no technical capacity to carry out tests on foods with GMO traces, exposing Kenyans to uncontrolled consumption of the products unknowingly.
I want you to tell me whether there's any standard at KEBS that checks the safety of the GMOs that are going to be produced or are going to be imported to this country. Do they have the standards? Have they developed that? What we are saying is, what is the rush for?
Hii GMO sio solution. Na kwa wale ambao wanasema kwamba wanasayansi ndio wanatengeneza, wanasayansi ndio wanajua, mambo ya tumbo hayana sayansi. Tumbo lako ni tumbo lako, tumbo langu ni tumbo langu. Nikisema sitaki GMO, wewe na sayansi zako hawezi kunishurutisha nile GMO.
The organization are calling for public views on the lifting of GMO ban and a revision of their biosafety standards to ensure legal frameworks are in place to control the consumption of GMO.
CBC was immediately taken through public participation now. And we are asking, if you take the CBC through public participation, why are you not taking this decision on GMOs through public participation? Are we applying double standards?
The government acts will not go to court. But if they don't act, that's when we will have to be forced to go to court. Because we have a right and we will cite the constitution that protects us as consumers.
The groups are urging the government to develop a policy shift to reduce over-dependency on maize that has led to food scarcity, leading to the government contemplating the introduction of BT maize.
Kenya tuna vyakula vingi, we can diversify. Serikali kila wakati ikiongea mambo ya chakula inaongea juu ya mambo ya mahindi. Mbona haweki pesa katika kufanya ama kupromote vyakula vile vingine? Tuna zile millet, sorghum, mawele na vitu vingine vingi.
While lifting the ban, the cabinet said it was a long-term strategy to ensure there is an increase of food production in the country and lower the country's food import bill. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
5,000 public sector accountants have received training to implement accounting standards that will check wastage and misreporting of financial statements. Treasury says most government entities are already enjoying transparency, visibility, accuracy, and efficient pending bills reporting following the adoption of the new accounting standards.
Currently, some entities within the national and county governments operate on cash-basis accounting that recognizes revenues and expenses at the time cash is received or paid out. The National Treasury says this framework is limited as it does not account for government assets and liabilities, which are key to sound decision-making.
Up to now, we do not have a complete picture of how much in totality that the government units have own.
As it is, state and county commissions are still adopting international public sector accounting standards, IPSAS, which are a set of accounting standards for use by public sector entities around the world in the preparation of financial statements. However, Kenya missed the July 21st, 2021 implementation deadline, with the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board now in consultations for a new transition date. This even as National Treasury requests 18 months to reconfigure the Integrated Financial Management System, IFMIS, for the change.
IFMIS is of course a software, and softwares required to be upgraded from time to time in order for them to accommodate new types of platforms of information sharing. As you know, the government has been operating on a cash basis of accounting, and therefore for them to facilitate or to accommodate accrue accounting, there are certain configurations that need to be undertaken in the information systems of the government.
Speaking at a consultative forum on transition to accrual accounting, it also emerged that pending bills were one of the biggest challenges when it comes to recording identification of assets and liabilities in government.
County governments, especially because of the transition from the old regimes to the new regime, some of the assets in between, up to now, the IGRTC is still struggling to be able to trace them.
In terms of identifying and clustering and recording of the assets and liabilities, we have a policy enacted which was signed off by the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury way back in 2020 for effective use from 1st of July 2020 to guide in terms of identification of assets and liabilities and report on them.
The National Treasury now says that a phased approach has been adopted by the public sector with a target set within 5 years to fully achieve the reforming of the accounting standards.
Using accrual basis of accounting means that we no longer need to use memos for forwarding transactions that relate to pending bills, and instead we'll put them in as liabilities in financial statements. Alan Oko, Prime Edition.
Well, the use of traditional pottery, which lost its sheen due to the use of modern cooking pots, is slowly regaining its popularity. Various entrepreneurs have ventured back into the household ceramics business with an aim of promoting a healthy lifestyle. Teresa Mutai revisits the story of traditional pottery and how the efforts of one lady are breathing life into this trade.
Traditional pottery as we knew it is slowly dying in Kenya. Before the advent of modern cooking technologies, African traditional pottery was the main method of preparing and cooking meals. But time changed. Today, modern pottery is mainly used for home decor items, which is more lucrative. Despite this, the commitment to revive and add value to the pottery industry pushed an entrepreneur to set up shop and pursue a ceramics venture. There we go. We caught up with Clay Republic Commercial Director Nyambura Ndungu, who narrates the birth of the idea to produce and sell clay-based household equipment. She says the earthen taste of water sparked the idea to create a clay water pot. Ndungu partnered with her partner to begin the venture by selling a single water pot sourced from Kakamega.
The earthen taste of water is what sparked this idea, where when it rains, you have that, you smell that smell of soil, and we remembered that I think this is something that we used to get sometimes back.
With the actualization of selling a water pot, they established the Clay Republic in 2020 with an aim of promoting healthy living. She explains that clay soil is alkaline in nature and the clay pots neutralize the acidity found in some foods and water. To that extent, she realized that the pots would help in reducing the common cases of heartburn caused by acidity.
Clay is alkaline in nature, so anything that you put in a clay pot tries to neutralize the acid. So even if you have those problems of acidity, kuchoma chomeka, so what usually happens once you start drinking water from a clay pot, you find that that problem disappears with time.
Through the Clay Republic, Nyambura Ndungu established a workshop in Kendu Bay and Kakamega, employing 40 and 30 women respectively to mold the clay pots and empower them financially.
Like the Kendu Bay group has 40. Kakamega, we have different places and mostly homes that who are doing the pottery. Our catch was, are you able to get a fewer younger women who can be able to continue this pottery when you guys are tired and are not able to make pots anymore.
To market her products to a wider audience, Nyambura has employed 2 employees to sell the finished products in her establishment. Despite having a small space back at home or even not having a fireplace at all, a portable lamp fire got you covered. Clay from each location varies in color, with Kakamega having red clay, while Kendu Bay produces black clay.
Sourcing clay is not very hard because it's mostly at the riverbanks, so they are able to tell which part of the riverbanks have clay. So what we've been doing with them, we have people who are able to help us test the soil. Testing this soil is because we want to make sure that the soil that we are using to make the clay products do not have reed.
The pots are then molded and heated in highly concentrated kilns to ensure durability. The pots are later left to dry in the sun to add to their longevity. This entire process from molding to getting the pots to the shop takes 2 months. She says the designs of the pots are dictated by the customer's designs and needs. On a good month, the business can fetch as much as 300,000 shillings. But when the business is low, revenue can dip to a low of 50,000 shillings a month.
The most important thing when it comes to pricing is the size of the pot and the design of the pot. On a good month, we are able to make a profit of around 200, 300. On a bad month, we are able to do 50, 60, thereabouts.
Nyambura Ndungu says the clay cooking materials are a solution to reducing the use of fossil fuel to cook, as clay firepots use less firewood or briquettes for heating and retains heat for up to 6 hours.
Once that clay is heated up, with the charcoal that is breaking from the wood, it can be able to take a maximum of 6 hours when it still maintains the heat within the space that you are in. So we are trying as much as possible to reduce the amount of wood that is used by the three stone. We are also trying to reduce the amount of charcoal that is used, and also we have embraced briquettes.
Nyambura's long-term plan is to access financing that will help Clay Republic set up a pottery school to train the young generation on various pottery skills. With the emergence of metal cooking pots, clay cooking pots became less popular. But this created a niche in the market for those with the creativity and passion to venture into. For KBC Channel 1, I am Teresa Mutai.
Thank you, Teresa, for that report. Now, tourism sector players are calling for the implementation of the open skies policy to open up routes not covered by the national carrier to other airlines. The sector stakeholders say they are losing out on customers who seek package deals and connect free air travel movement.
Kenya projects 1.4 million tourist visits by the end of the year. However, this still falls short of the over 2 million arrivals the country had in the pre-COVID period. Tourism sector players say, despite the positive outlook, the numbers could go higher if transport and accessibility of destinations was looked into.
All we are asking is level playing field and to be given that fair chance so that we can also do business and continue generating employment.
They say air travel should be an open business that allows for new entrants who could give services to increase demands in the sector. In addition, the players seek open skies and a variety of direct flight options to tourism hotspots such as Mombasa, which could be achieved if other airline options were availed.
Everybody else is opening up and allowing free travel. So it's very important that we open our skies and allow as many airlines to come into this part of the world. People want to come to Kenya.
Becoming a cumbersome for people traveling from abroad to land in Nairobi, then they go to Mombasa, it becomes a bit tricky. So if Open Skies goes to Mombasa, all the hotels will open up and we'll have all the facilities in Mombasa working very well.
They say interoperability is essential to ensure synergy with different market players, which would ease travel and increase Kenya's attractiveness to potential tourists.
We need to provide these options to really allow them that comfort that this is possible.
This as the resumption of South African airline operations in Kenya is taunted to increase arrivals from southern parts of Africa. The South African ambassador to Kenya, Johannes Malangu, says talks are underway between Kenya and South Africa to deepen economic ties in the service sector.
This will grow our economy even much more better. But most importantly, that will also facilitate the movement of people and goods services in between the two countries. If you look at not just the commercial air flight, but you look at the cargo side of it, also they will be able to move the goods as fast as possible.
While acknowledging the growth projections, the tourism sector players are still calling on inclusivity to go back to 2019 numbers. Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
The Kasiri in Kitengela is an ideal hideout to play, dine, adventure, and camp in the wild. The park is fast becoming a favorite spot for adrenaline junkies who want to engage in a hair-raising experience. Tonight on Magical Scenes, we highlight this attraction and more in the county of Kajiado.
Looking for a fun experience to share with family, friends, and colleagues, then Kajiado County is the place to be.
Lions roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day. People feeling like the light has just
Kajiado is a cosmopolitan town with a rich combination of savanna grasslands and woodlands. This fast-growing suburb, southeast of Nairobi, is fast becoming a haven for fun lovers and nature huggers. This is Nkasiri, a place worth every visit. But for you to access this hidden gem, you must maneuver through a bumpy ride off the Namanga Kitengela Road. Investors in this part of the country try whichever way to water their plants to create tranquility like no other. As the saying goes, peace comes from within. If you agree with this saying, then Nkasiri is the right place.
Lions roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day.
Nkasiri was built with the aim of giving people some level of privacy away from the busy schedules that they have from their works. That's why you find that during the weekends the place is fully packed, because I think people are trying to get away from the normalcy at the end of it all. So Nkasiri, the best description would be a getaway. It's a home away from home, just giving you the privacy, giving you all the equipment that you can have to relieve your stress, and for kids it's a place to come and have fun.
We'll never be alone, Savannah, the beauty of the world, Savannah.
The high ropes have a lot of returning customers, because first of all it has 3 different levels that you might not be able to complete in one day. But I think the adrenaline rush and also the games and the meals.
The high ropes would be the first activity on your list. It looks like so much fun, but from the body language of participants, I bet this is not for the faint-hearted.
Lions roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day.
It's a challenge, it's a game where you challenge yourself, like it's an obstacle. So in high ropes, it's all about, it's like a team building activity, but it's very safe. Before you do the game, we use the safety gears, because when you're up, you can fall. So you do the harnesses, and we make sure before we do the challenge, we take guests through safety briefs first. So we make sure you understand what you're going to do up there. And our high ropes is built on 3 different levels. So the differences are the heights and the challenges.
Let's all take a ride.
This adventure park also offers creative thinking challenges and strategies.
At the fact that inakutoa kwa Nairobi, like you're within Nairobi but not so close to Nairobi, and then it's away. The idea is away from everything. You get a chance to just have fun. Ile tu meondokea the normal activities.
Just as nature would describe it, Nkasere is one place you'd want to be any time of the year. The destination is sparsely populated. The greenery in this area is arguably magical, considering it is in a dry area of the county. Now, watching over the sun setting will arguably bring back the memories of this place. Irene Mchuma Udim, magical scenes in the county of Kajiado.
So good evening. As you can see right there, we have 44 days, 21 hours roughly. Let's just say, as it displays on your screen, we have 45 days up until the 2022 FIFA Qatar World Cup, which KBC Channel 1 shall be bringing you the matches. So stay tuned in for that when the 20th of November comes knocking. Well, on to a top story tonight. Chicago Marathon reigning champion Ruth Chepngetich will return to the American city this Sunday to defend her title. The 2019 world champion has a personal best of 2 hours, 17 minutes and 8 seconds set in 2019 at the Dubai Marathon. She came in third in the 2020 London Marathon and is the third fastest woman of all time over the half marathon distance.
And about ready to run.
Chepngetich will be aiming to retain the Chicago Marathon title she won in 2019 after the 2020 event was cancelled due to COVID-19 pandemic. Her compatriot Celestine Chepchirchir will be targeting a first World Marathon major title when she makes her debut at the event. The third in a trio of Kenyans with the fastest times in the women's race has also shown strong form this year. Vivian Kiplagat posted a personal best just 8 seconds lower than Chepchirchir's when she registered a time of 2 hours, 20 minutes and 18 seconds in Milan last year. In the men's competition, Eric Kiptanui, who finished third last year, headlines the Kenyan contingent, which also has John Korir, Elisha Rotich, Bernard Koech and Benson Kipruto. The men's field also contains a returning champion, with Seifu Tura headlining a top 4 made up of only Ethiopian runners. Tura has a personal best time of 2 hours, 4 minutes and 29 seconds, putting him 39th in the all-time list. Frederick Olwete, Channel 1 Sports.
Toronto winning in Chicago.
Meanwhile, reigning African champion Senegal will be aiming to become the first African nation to lift the World Cup trophy after making successive World Cups for the first time in their history. The team, popularly known as Teranga Lions, has twice appeared at the World Cup in 2002 and the last tournament edition that was held in 2018.
Senegal, who are currently ranked at position 18 in the FIFA ranking top Group H of the World Cup qualifiers, winning 5 out of 6 group matches. The team, coached by Aliou Cissé, defeated Egypt twice this year after first beating them on penalties in the 2021 African Cup of Nations finals in Cameroon. Then knocked them out of the World Cup qualifiers again on penalties. Senegal became only the second African nation to reach the quarter-finals of a World Cup in 2002 after beating Cameroon in 1990. The team did not participate in the subsequent 3 World Cup tournaments between 2006 and 2014 before returning in 2018. In Qatar,
well, internationally, Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton says it is imperative that suitable punishments are meted out for any team found to have broken Formula One's budget cap. The FIA will reveal on Monday which teams exceeded its last season after delaying the publication. Senior sources have told media that if any team is found to have been in breach last year, the offence is likely to be minor.
And he does make that lunge down the inside, Lewis Hamilton. That is the best move of the lot. And that is a mega sprint drive. There goes Lewis Hamilton in 1 lap from 10th, is up to 6th. Sergio Perez. Hamilton pulls ahead of Verstappen. Before they get to the corner, the crowd go absolutely wild. And he does make that lunge down the inside. Lewis Hamilton, that is the best move of the lot. And that is a mega sprint drive. There goes Lewis.
Well, the Europa League continues tonight. Of course, currently it is halftime before Union Berlin of Germany and Malmo, whereby you have Union Berlin leading by 1-0, despite the fact that they're 10 men at the moment. Another match is set to be played today at 10 p.m. We have Arsenal taking on Glimt or Bodo. And in a match that just ended barely 20 minutes ago, you had Manchester United finally redeeming themselves. After a 3-2 win against Omonia, you had Rashford scoring 2 goals, while Anthony Martial, of course, continuing his perfect form as he scored an extra goal for Manchester United. That's all the time we had for sports tonight, but don't go too far. Cynthia Nyamai is on the other side of the studio. Good night.
Thank you, Munga, for all this sports action. Now we're coming to an end of this bulletin. From me and the rest of the team, we do want to wish you a very good night.
In Kenya, 67% of the population, or 35 million people, rely on traditional biomass for cooking. Yet, cleaner, safe alternatives are available, and momentum is growing to scale up their use, create jobs, and empower women who traditionally gather